quantitative research. This is the original one done by Yarina Iwanie in 2019. The title is Language Learning, Motivation and Gender, which is done in Polish context. And this is my replication study entitled The Effect of Gender on Senior High School Students' Motivation to Learn English, the case of Bontang, is Kalimantan. Okay, so it has been a roller coaster ride doing this assignment, but I think they were all worth the effort. I'll begin with the introduction. So, according to the prior research findings by Gardner, Lambert, Tremblay, etc., motivation has always been associated with achievement, and motivation was considered as one of the main causes for gender differences in language learning accomplishment, which resulted that compared to male students, female students have higher levels of motivation. So there has been a developing stereotype in the society, seeing that female learners tend to have more accomplishments or more motivation in learning. That is the existing stereotype. And then in the past, most motivational researches were employing integrative motivation construct created by Gardner and Lambert. But because this construct has several weaknesses, especially argued by Dornier in 2009, now the newer researches on motivations are employing the L2 MSS or L2 motivational self-system. And then in Indonesian context, I just found a couple of studies which indicated that female students of senior high school tended to outperform male students and score higher in the subjects of physics and mathematics. And then it was found also in geography. However, there have been very limited studies examining the effect of gender differences towards senior high school students' learning motivation in learning English. I have searched the references, but I found nothing. I didn't find anyone who had done this kind of research in Indonesian context. So the study reported in this paper specifically designed to investigate the effect of gender on Indonesian senior high school students' language learning motivation and examine the extent to which gender affects different aspects of Indonesian senior high school students' motivation to learn English in terms of the reported levels of their motivation. Recent research data indicate that female learners tend to score higher than male learners, like I have said before, on different measures of language achievement. The cause of the gender gap in language learning achievement might be traced back to factors such as language learning motivation. According to Ford's motivational system theory, which is one of the most important constructs in motivational researches, there are three main components of motivation. The first is the goals, the second is the personal agency beliefs, and emotional arousal processes. This concept was employed in my replication research as the guidance to determine the motivational variables. So in this study, the components which represented the motivational aspects are these four variables. The first is self-efficacy belief, which is defined as individual insights of their capability to effectively do a certain task. And the next is intrinsic motivation, defined as an inherent tendency to seek out novelty and challenges to extend and exercise one's capacities to explore and to learn. Self-regulation, the degree to which individuals are metacognity, like you can see, and then the last is instrumentality. All these four variables represents the three aspects of motivation that I have said before. And then this is the research question. The first is, does gender affect senior high school students' language learning motivation? And the second, to what extent does gender affect levels of senior high school students' language learning motivation? For the method, I am employing a survey design, same like the original article, to address the research question. The data were collected using a motivational questionnaire, which is adapted from the prior research done by Janina Iwaniak also in 2004, tailored to the population examined and analyzed quantitatively. The participants had to indicate on a 5-point Likert scale to what extent they agreed or disagreed with the statements of like the common motivational like the common questionnaires used in research. So they should answer a 5-point Likert scale. 5 means strongly agree, and then 1 means strongly disagree. That is the range of the response. And then the respondents were 50 Indonesian senior high school students from a private school, of course in Bontang, East Kalimantan. And the population is exactly 25 males and 25 females because I selected them. The reason behind the choice of this age group was that the students of this grade are considered the most mature in ability of self-assessment and in the capability to foresee and plan their future. So the students are in the last year or the 3rd grade. The selection was based on placement test. So I used a tryout test as a placement test for my replication study. So I only choose students with minimum 70% of the accomplishment in the tryout. That's how I selected my respondents. The questionnaire data was analyzed quantitatively using SPSS, and the analysis in SPSS included the reliability analysis, normality test, and MANOVA. This is the results. The first, the reliability test showed that because it is above 0.60, it is 0.715, so it is considered reliable. And then this is the major problem that I encountered when I composed this research replication. So in order to perform MANOVA, my data must be normally distributed. This is my major problem because one of the 4 variables is not normally distributed. This is the result of the normality test. So for this, and this is all normally distributed, but for the first one, for self-efficacy belief, it is for intrinsic motivation, it is not normally distributed. I have tried to do several data transformation, like using log, ln, sqrt, but none of them were successful. I also tried to eliminate some outliers, but still, the data is still not normally distributed. So I checked back to the literature and found out that if our data is not normally distributed, the option that we have is to test our data using a non-parametric test. So I used man-Whitney test to test this spatial variable. So the other 3 were tested using MANOVA, and for this specific variable, I tested using man-Whitney test. However, after performing the MANOVA, also the man-Whitney test, all of the results shows that there were no gender differences in terms of levels of intrinsic motivation, because both significance level are above 0.05. So for MANOVA, we have Pillai trace of 0.073, and then for manually test we have 0.397, like shown on the table. So the findings of the research were unexpectedly showed no differences on the levels of motivational variables. Even female students had slightly higher means than male students. However, the difference found in the result could not be considered significant. Therefore, the common judgment that males have lower level at language learning compared to females is rejected by the result of this replica. And then, positive learning attitudes and enjoyment of learning were shown by female and male students in almost equal levels. The employment of more rigorous statistical analysis in this study as compared to studies by Okoniewski and Sylvan and Thompson might be the reason of the differences, because on the prior studies they only used t-test, but here, as done by Yamina Imaniak in 2019, he analyzed the data using MANOVA, so the results are more detailed. So it gives a more complete result. And then gender variances on the levels of instrumentality were not found in this research. This might be because of the role of English as lingua franca, which allows people from various linguistic backgrounds to communicate each other. This also contradicts most research in motivation, which usually on the levels of instrumentality, female has a higher level of motivation. So, one of the proposed implication of this study, in warranting the best achievements that males or females can get equally, further investments is highly necessary. One way that can be proposed in solving this problem, considering the wider coverage of this research, is that it requires changes in the regulations which place foreign language expertise in the stance that equally both genders should master. So, there should be any difference in the perception between male and females in the motivation of why should I study English, the importance they should feel in the equal level between male and females. And then the last one is the limitation. The first limitation of this study, of course, the second one is very clear, because the data is only from qualitative method only, but I think the backgrounds of the respondents, instead of the small size, instead of the quantity of the respondents, the background of the respondents which were chosen only from one school of a small city. The addition of respondents from urban areas, particularly those whose direct contact to English are more dominant, may change the findings of the study. And then the last, if the research employs qualitative method, the data collected might give more visions of males and females in determining their specific careers. Okay.
Okay.
That's it. Any question, Frank? No question? Quite clear? Thank you. Itu. I'll show you again. The implication. So, up to date, there is a conflicting results in the research of motivation related to gender. So one of the proposed limitation is that we have to create an environment or a learning strategy or a learning design which males and female students can perceive in the equal level as equal needs for them. So the growing facts is that males tends to perceive that language expertise as a female domain. So there are several studies that show that males tends to think that female language expertise, especially English, is female stuff. They don't have to deal with it because they have another kind of disciplines like technical disciplines or other more masculine disciplines. So one of the proposed implication here is we have to give equal perception to the students so that they will feel that both males and females will feel that the need to learn English in the equal or the same level. That's it. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.